I've caught dolphin. I mean, I've caught stuff in close. You're going to catch everything. Of course, you're going to catch the friendly amberjack and plenty of cudas too. But you just have more of a chance. I've caught big 50-pound cobias. You have a chance of catching a lot more fish when you're using that live bait like that. Trolling 1 to 2 miles an hour, bumping the boat in out of gear, having that bait, it's been the most productive for me. Like I said, you'll have some sporties, and what I call sporties is a big boat blue water fishermen that don't believe too much in live bait fishing. And I can assure you, if I went out to the ledge or beyond, well, the tuna and dolphin are biting, and I had live bait, I would have just as much success as them trolling ballyhoo. And in my opinion, I feel more success trolling live bait. There's no doubt about that. And when I'm slow trolling, on a good day, very rarely do you get a real good day where you can actually troll 6 lines. Some of the blue water guys, some of the real good charter captains, they can troll 10, 12, 13 lines at a time. Normally, kingfishing tournaments, you're only allowed 6 lines in the water at a time. And most of the time, you're not going to be able to fish 6 lines. If you're lucky, you'll be able to fish 5. And if you're just learning out, I suggest try 1 or 2 at first, get the hang, get a little bit more experience clearing some rods and getting some lines out. My basic presentation when I put my spread of lines out is 1 downrigger, a little bit off the bottom, 1 kind of in the middle. I kind of switch it up all throughout the day. 1 bait about from me to you behind my motor, sometimes even closer. 1 bait straight off the back of the top of my T-top or just straight out. It's called a flat line. Sometimes I put it 50 yards out. Sometimes I put it 250 yards out. It's just a matter of just trying different things. And I'll stagger 1 bait on one side, 1 bait on the other. Just enough stagger so they won't get tangled up. You'll find when you start fishing with more than 3 or 4 lines, there's no way you're going to get tangled. And they're going to be a pain. And they just, a lot of times, if you're fishing a fishing tournament, you don't want to waste a lot of time untangling stuff. But it's going to happen. You got bait that's not going to cooperate. Or you got wind that's blowing from the wrong way you're fishing. It's going to blow your lines together. It's just a matter of finding out what works for you and dealing with the elements. Anchoring and drifting, pretty much the same type of thing with the live bait. Both styles. You're not going to be able to really use the downriggers that good or deploy them. And the reason being is you're not putting pressure against the fish to swim with the boat. And normally you put a downrigger out and you're anchored up, unless you're in a tide line at the jetties or you're in some current, that fish is immediately going to come swim to the downrigger, swim to the boat, tangle himself up. I find it using a little weight or something, and 1 or 2 rods kind of down and 1 or 2 up, kind of keep them away from each other when you're anchored or when you're drifting. One of the things I just recommend about when you're anchoring, if you're anchored up and you're fishing the spot and you're just waiting, and all of a sudden, boom, you finally get that strike you've been waiting on, make sure someone has the anchor rope untied so you have a buoy on or something to throw it down. Because if you hook a real big fish and you got something that a lot of line, not a capacity, and of course you fish with real light drag, that fish is never going to stop unless you if you take the time to pull your anchor up, it's hung. It might take you 5-10 minutes to pull it up. I suggest just having it hooked on like a couple of your bumpers that hook to your boat. Throw it over the side and go chase that fish down. I can tell you, if you don't chase the fish down, you're going to lose them. And especially if you're fishing at the jetties. If you're anchored up and you don't chase that fish down, I guarantee you another boat's going to cut you off. Something else is going to happen, especially, just normal summertime. There's 10, 15 boats fishing the jetties. You got the pilot boat coming out every hour, tugs coming in and out. If you don't have the capability of chasing that fish down, you're not going to catch them. I mean, unless you're using heavy tackle and you're really horsing them in, the chances are you're going to lose that fish. One of the things that I'm going to talk about is using chum. Some people use it, some people don't. Some people say you catch nothing but sharks when you use it. It's all a matter of preference of what you want to try. I personally use it on occasion. Sometimes I use it. It all depends on the situation of where I'm fishing. If I know there's a lot of kings in the area and it's a matter of just weeding through, trying to catch a big one or something like that, or if I'm just fun fishing, A lot of times I won't use chum if I'm fun fishing because it's just something that's added. It gets in the boat. Someone's going to step in it. You get menhaden oil and stuff like that. I mean, you're going to slip and you're not getting it off your boat until after it gets home and you put some Clorox on it. But you can buy menhaden oil, and they make a product called menhaden milk. It actually is like a concentrate you can mix with water, and it makes a good bit of it. They make dispensers you can buy for these things, and all these things work real well. You can buy frozen chum blocks. Personally, I don't like to really, I buy a lot of the oil and use it, but because it's real easy to use and it's kind of mess free because you can put it in this wash area where your motor is and stuff and kind of keep it out of the way. Just let it come out as it wants to. And the chum and the frozen chum in the chum bag works good, just tied to the cleat, and it's slowly dissolving as you're slow trolling and stuff. I mean, that stuff works, and I wouldn't tell you it doesn't work. Sometimes it works real good. Sometimes it can make the difference. If you're not catching anything and hey, you don't have no chum, you know, that could have been the difference. You don't really know. Just a matter of what you want to try. Myself, I like to go and catch coolers and coolers of menhaden when they're in. You can catch a bunch of them, and I grind them up myself. And I have 5-gallon buckets full of them. I freeze. I have a big freezer. And during the tournament season, when I'm fishing a tournament, I have 30 and 40 of these buckets frozen. And I sometimes use 4 or 6 of these buckets a day of just solid ground menhaden and just dump them right in a big chum bag. And I'll use them throughout the day. But you can buy this chum at tackle shops. It varies on the price on what you want to buy. But it definitely works. Anybody have any questions on some techniques?
You're trolling and you hook up on one line. Do you come off the throttle, reel the other line in, or you just keep right on going?
Normally I'll clear all the lines. Yeah, clear. I like to leave 1 or 2 lines in the water, especially if I know this fish is going a certain way and I got some certain bait in the water. It's always good to leave 1 in the water. But if you're getting on a fish, you got something on that you don't know what it is, and it's taking off like crazy, I'll clear all the lines first, keep 1 or 2 rigged, put them in the live well, and then when we get kind of close up to that fish, I'll definitely stop, turn around, and put one of the rods back out. Because a lot of times you'll get that strike or that fish, you know, when there's a fish with commotion in the water and he's turned to the side and there's all kind of stuff going on, that attracts other fish. Other predators are attracted to it. I can tell you countless kingfish that I've had up near the boat, and have cudas come by, barracuda come by, take half of it, bite it. And if you're fishing in a tournament, that's definitely, you don't want that to happen. Because as soon as that fish gets clipped or nicked or anything by another fish that's unnatural, he's disqualified automatically in a fishing tournament. You can't weigh him in. You want to try to get on that fish as fast as you can. I mean, I've seen people that, you know, got certain types of reels you can buy. There's a reel called an AVET reel. It has an 8-to-1 retrieve. And you can wind that thing about as fast as you can take off and drive a boat for like a mile, and you can still keep up with it. I mean, the retrieve, and I've seen people chase fish down that fast. The longer that fish stays in the water when you're fishing, the more of a chance you have to lose it, especially if you're looking to keep it. That is one thing I can attest to. If you can find a way to get that fish in a minute or 2 quicker than before, I definitely recommend trying to do that.
When you clear your lines, do you unhook the baits and put them back in the live well, or is that it for
it? It all depends. I try not to do that because if you're limited on the amount of bait you got, you don't want to do that. I try not to really take them off either. I try to kind of even them in the live well, but I know once you put 2 of them in one live well with a rig on it, you know what you're going to have is mayhem when you try to get them back apart. But a lot of times, if I know I got the fish and we're not really getting them on that much, I'll reel the lines in, but keep them real close to the boat. But one, you know, it's a lot of times I'll lay 2 of them in the front with just the bait in the water, 2 of them in the back, and that just keeps you from having to try to separate them and move them up too much. Because normally when you get that fish near the boat, if you're going to gaff it, you're going to be on the bow with it. Wherever that fish is, that boat's going to turn right to where it is, and someone's going to be driving the boat. You're going to be trying right on top of that fish to get that fish in gaffing range to stick to gaffing.
Do you use an oxygen system in your bait well?
I don't. A lot of the bigger guys use it. They work. They're expensive. You got to have a boat that has a lot of room. And I don't suggest if you don't have a 50-gallon live well, they're not really worth using. I mean, just a professional setup costs about $400. and then you got to keep changing the tanks out. Now, by no means, I mean, those things are great, but I mean, I really can't afford, with the setup I have, my boat's not set up for an oxygen system due to the fact I have live wells that aren't really that big, but they definitely work. I mean, I have a homemade rigged one that I use for smaller bait, like when I'm doing a charter or something, and I got charters lined up for 2-3 days, I'll go out and catch a bunch of shrimp, and I got a giant 400-gallon tank in my garage, and I'll use my oxygen system on that tank, and I can keep bait alive for a week. Granted, it's not menhaden, but you know, shrimp and mud minnows and mullet and stuff. As long as you have the right amount of oxygen, the water temperature's right, you can keep bait alive a long time with it.
Keep it alive if you ever crack the
The tablet or the
It's still alive.
yeah, I mean they sell them. I never use them. You can, but those are more of a portable type. Yeah. Yeah, they keep it alive. Yeah. And with the live wells and the oxygen system, the hardest bait to keep alive in the ocean is going to be a menhaden. They require more oxygen than any of them. And when those things get stressed, they've been a live well, you'll notice they start to turn real red. That shouldn't deter you from using them because they'll work when they're red. But usually when they start to turn red, you know that's a tall tale sign they're going to be dead about within the hour most likely. You can keep some red baits alive, but it's just hard. That's all that is when they turn red like that. It's their bodies lost that much oxygen and it's taken it out of them and they turn that color. And if you put like a keep alive system, like an oxygen system, in a live well that has ones like that, believe it or not, they will come back to life when you can inject that oxygen into that water and you have lower the temperature a little bit. You can make those baits look like they just came out of the ocean and like supercharge them, because that's what that's for. A lot of them guys, when you throw double and triple the amount of oxygen they're used to, that makes the bait just go crazy. And when you hook them on the hook, I mean, they're flipping out and they're swimming like Olympic swimmers to the next ocean. I mean, they are really lively when you do that.
Why do you have to do such a light drag?
The main reason on the light drag is it's more of a finesse fishing. This is a small hook. It's not going to go in you that far. Probably half the time you hook a kingfish, you're lucky to get one of these in his mouth. Usually these are on the body, and on a kingfish on the skin. Once you keep putting pressure on that skin, that hook's slowly going to tear, and it'll come off. I prefer in Charleston to use 1 or 2 pounds of drag. You want that fish to run until kingdom come, let him go. You got 400 yards of line, and plus you're getting ready, as he's leaving, he's not taking 400, you're getting ready to crank up however many horses. I'm going to crank 225 up, and I'm going to chase, he's not going to outrun me when we get around and we start to chase him down. You usually get on him before then, but normally a big fish will make 2 long runs, and then the big ones are expired. You can get up to them, they're laying on the side. Sometimes they're laying on the side. And again, I've had 12, 15-pound kingfish make 3 and 4, 5 runs and act like they're the biggest fish in the ocean, thinking you got the big one. You pull up and you got a fish this big. It's just a matter of sometimes they fight, sometimes they don't. I caught a couple 30-pounders in some tournaments last year and hit right in the prop wash, pulled about 5 foot of drag. I turned around and actually could see the fish, reeled it like this, and I said, get the gaff, and we gaffed the fish within 30 seconds. He didn't even run. I don't know if there was something wrong with that fish, but I mean, we got him in the boat, and he really wasn't. He was kind of lethargic when we got him in the boat. I mean, they'll do anything. If people have been on the ocean, you'll see some of the craziest stuff on the ocean, in all types of fishing, in all types of scenarios. The ocean, you know, everything, anything can happen. Next thing I want to talk about is just some locations and some conditions that have been successful for me. Now, grant you, a lot of people fish different places. I basically try to fish wherever I think the fish are. If I think they're at the ledge, I'm fishing at 180 foot of water. Sometimes